3, 2, 1.
New York, NY. Launch Pod starts now.
Welcome to the New York Launch Pod, the New York Press Club award-winning podcast on the most interesting new startups, businesses, and openings in the New York City area. I'm your host and New York attorney, Hal Cooper-Smith. In this episode, we are speaking all about tipping. Our guest, Zach Colonder, thinks tipping is broken, specifically cash tipping. And he wants people to tip through his app, Grazzee. Here's Zach.
We service all buildings. I'm in non-doorman buildings, walk-ups that deal with a super and a porter. It doesn't have to be a high volume building. It just has to be a building where people want to send money to staff members that if you're in a non-doorman building, you don't see the super all the time. So now you can send them money and not even have to worry about it.
Listen to the episode to find out how Zach is growing the app, how it even works, and what's next for Grazzee. But before we go to the episode, we have a sponsor, Rescue, New York State's premier residential rental compliance platform for landlords. Rental laws in New York City are difficult to manage, and Rescue helps you follow the law. If you are a landlord who wants to keep up with inflation, you need Rescue. For example, you may not be able to increase your rent by the amount you thought. Rescue helps solve that problem and a whole lot more. Go to rescueme.com and enter in some simple information, and Rescue will take care of the rest. That's rescueme.com, REZCUEME.com. And with that, let's go to the interview. So what's wrong with tipping?
What's wrong with tipping? Well, tipping is an old school way where people still go to the bank, they get the cash, they go to Dwayne Reed and buy the cards, then they go upstairs and they fill out the cards. They put the money that they take out of the bank in the cards, they seal them up, and then they try and hand 10, 20, 30 cards down to one guy, hope that it all goes to the same place. But who wants to go to the bank anymore? If I ever go to the bank, it's one time, it's for tipping only. That's it, one time a year. That's what's wrong with tipping.
And so you wanted to change what was wrong with tipping.
I wanted to make tipping as easy as possible for someone who wants to give money to the staff. That's what I want to do. And that's what we did. Because I live in a residential doorman building and I am lazy and I didn't want to go to the bank and in the freezing cold, I didn't want to buy cards and I didn't want to have to fill out cards and I didn't want to try and find everyone. It's a pain. It's an hour and a half to 2 hour process for something now where it takes 1 minute.
And when you were looking at this, did you realize that other people had problems?
Yes, everyone I talk to, it's an issue. No one wants to do it. Now, when I say no one, I shouldn't say that. Most people don't want to do that. Now, there's always going to be the people that want to go to the bank. They want to get the cash. They want to find their guy. They want to give him the big hug, give him their envelope. That will always be the case. But for a lot of people, especially the people that are out of town, people that order Uber Eats for everything, they don't want to do that.
I was going to say, the big hug, that's one of the best things.
Big hug. I know. But you can't hug 20 people in your building anyway. And you'll still see your main guy downstairs and you can still hug him. Hey, did you get my Grazzee? And he's going to say yes, because it's immediate. They see it.
Had you heard of people not receiving their cash?
It happens a lot. How about this? It happened one time to me where I handed, I think, 20 envelopes out because I lived at a big building. And like one of the guys came up to me and was like, hey, just to let you know, there was nothing in my envelope. Now, did I forget to put money in there? Probably, but it's embarrassing for him to come ask me. It was embarrassing for me because I don't know. I mean, do people just go there and say, hey, there was nothing in here? Like, did someone else go in his envelope and take it? That stuff happens all the time, like all the time.
And this is a secure way of doing that, right?
My way is a secure way. The other way of handing the envelopes, 20 envelopes. Do you know how many envelopes end up front desk? Take a building of 400 units, say 200 units tip, because not everyone tips. 200 units. 20 envelopes, it's 4,000 cards with cash in them. It's very tempting. People are going to take them.
That's a lot of cash. And you wanted to do something different.
Yes.
Okay. So how does it work?
Well, the resident, they log into the app and they search for their building. Once they pull in the building, you enter your apartment number, and then you see a whole list of staff in a Venmo type fashion where you can send everyone money all in one transaction. So you can see all 20 employees. You put down whatever money you want to give them 20 times, different 20 people, and hit send. You can pay with your credit card. You could pay with Apple Pay, which makes it super easy. You could pull it from your bank. So you could do it that way.
And how does your platform make money?
So we charge a resident to use it a small transactional fee. It comes out to a little bit less than the amount of money that you would spend at cards at Dwayne Reed. But if you want to buy a generic, just Happy Holidays card, it's probably $7 for 10. You get a big building, it's $14, $15 just in cards. So my fee is actually, it's cheaper my way, saves you 2 hours of time, and everyone gets their money.
And can I use this not for the holidays?
Yeah. So I have buildings that use it all the time. Obviously, not everyone uses it. This is mainly it's a one time during Christmas and the holidays. People use it then. But I have buildings where people say they did something, they snaked the drain or they got the packages upstairs. I see, $5 here, $10 here again, thrown around all the time.
Right. And so how have you been able to get this into buildings?
It's a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, but it's a lot of hustling. I go to most buildings in the city. I speak to everyone from the doorman to the supers to the building managers I try and find people on the co-op boards, the condo boards. I do shows. I do a lot of stuff. And eventually once they get on there, they see the value and they love it. We're in almost 100 buildings now. We haven't lost one building. Everyone keeps on coming back because it's easy. And since it doesn't cost the building anything, so the residents pay a little bit of a fee, but for the building, it's free.
Per year. The residents pay per year or per transaction?
No, the residents pay per transaction. So if they want to use it, they can pay. If they want to go to the bank and do it the old way and get the cash and the cards, then they have to spend their time. I'm a convenience play. But it's free for the building. It's free for the staff. If I want to send someone $50, it's $50 into the staff's account. Then there's a couple ways for them to get the money per se. You could transfer it to their bank and it's free for them. There are little fees involved, but Grazzee takes care of that.
Like an ACH.
Like an ACH. So there are ACH transactional fees, 50 cents, 60 cents, whatever it is. We pay for that. So we want to make everything free for the staff. They can put it on a prepaid debit card. So the money actually never goes to the bank. It sits on their phone so they can use it. We can send them a check. There's different options for them to get their money.
I was going to ask, how can the staff get their money? And how do the staff feel about this?
Well, most staff love it. And there's always a staff here and there that, is an old school person that doesn't like technology but they get used to it. And I have had buildings where 80% of the people will be a part of the app for Christmas or holidays and they get sent money. And the people that didn't want to be on there end up calling me because they see all their colleagues getting money. They want to get involved because it doesn't cost them anything. I don't know why they don't want to do it, but some people are just such old school and they don't want to do it.
How long have you been doing this for?
So we're going on our 4th winter. So I created this in 2019. Yeah, 2019.
So you've been doing this for 4 years.
Yep.
4 holiday seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Question everyone wants to know as we're going into this holiday season is how much should people tip? And I think you probably have the data on that.
I do, but each building's different.
Okay.
You got the rental buildings, you got the condo, you got the co-ops, you got the 5-star gloves, you got everything. So it really is based on what people want to spend. It's different. I've seen monster tips of thousands of dollars and I've seen the lowest is $5.
Right.
It depends on what you feel like giving. Average is between 100 and 150 per doorman. The supers obviously get more depending on what they've done for you that year. And the porters and the handyman kind of get left out. They do most of the grunt work in your building that you don't even know about, but they really make the building run. So, everyone should get the same amount, but, obviously people have their favorites and they see people every day, but it takes a lot of people to make the buildings run that most people, especially myself included, had no idea.
And just going back to the resident experience, you're pricing this on a per transaction basis. Is that based off of how much someone is tipping?
Yes.
Okay. And so based off of that, you're calculating that it should be about the same as what someone's doing for
The cards. Yeah.
for cards, everything else like that.
Listen, if you're a big tipper, obviously you're going to spend more money on the app. But that's the same type of fees as Uber Eats. You know, if you're ordering a lot of food for 7 people, the fee's higher.
Right.
You're on StubHub, you know, it's like one of the worst things out there. They crush you. But yeah, StubHub, you buy a ticket, it's $400, you're spending $100 in fees. Now, obviously our fees are way lower than that, but it's a percentage of what they spend.
And if I pay by credit card, I reimburse you for the credit card processing plus your fee.
Yes, you're paying for the credit card processing. The way we built the system is we wanted $100 to be $100 to the staff member. So with credit cards, we're not going to pay it. And I don't think you want the staff to pay it. So the people pay it. And I'd say about 70% of the people pay with credit cards. They get the points. They put it on their business. They have a record of it. Even though it's cheaper to pay with their bank, they use a credit card. I don't know why.
And what's been some of your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenge is to get more buildings. That's it. I mean, once I get a building on board and they use it, they love it. You know, I hope the word of mouth starts growing, so more people want to use it. But getting buildings on board, it's hard. I deal with a lot of people. I deal with the staff. I deal with the supers. I deal with the building managers. I deal with the property managers. I deal with the board members. And that's a lot of moving parts and nothing gets done overnight. And I wish it did.
Once a building is signed up, how do you advertise it to all the unit owners?
So the building actually does it for me. There's a couple ways. I have postcards that I hand the supers and the building managers. If the building is one of those buildings where they hand out cards during the holidays, we could attach our card to their card. If they don't and they hand out a piece of paper, say all their staff list, we could put our website and a QR code on the bottom. If they use something like called Building Link or some other portal for the buildings, they can send out an email saying, you know, some of you asked for electronic tipping because I'm away in Florida. How can I do it? Here's the link. So all they would do is log into the website and find their building and send them money.
Once you're in a building, have you seen usage increase over time?
I've seen tips increase over time. In terms of usage, I guess I have, yeah. It's a lot. People use it. The same people keep coming back and using it, which is great. I don't really know. I don't really have stats if they were on it and didn't use it and went and got to the bank. Maybe 1 or 2 because they didn't want to pay the fee, but that's in everything. You know, if you don't want to pay Uber Eats and you want to go downstairs and go to the restaurant and pick it up, you know, people could do that too.
What I love about your business is that it certainly solves a very New York problem.
New York, it's very niche.
It's very niche. What's it like doing business in New York and growing your company in New York?
One of the good things is I could walk around to building to building. If you were at another city per se, it's very hard and difficult to go to all the buildings. So here I can hit 20, 30, 40 buildings in a day, just going around walking. So I'm not parking everywhere. I'm not driving. So that makes it easy. Also, the volume of people that live in the city. And if I get a building with 500 units, that's a nice building. We service all buildings. I'm in non-doorman buildings, walk-ups that deal with a super and a porter. It doesn't have to be a high volume building. It just has to be a building where people want to send money to staff members that if you're in a non-doorman building, you don't see the super all the time. So now you can send them money and not even have to worry about it.
And what is the future of Grazzee? What do you want it to become?
I want every building to use it. I really think it's going to get
every building in New York City.
Why not? Why not? Here's how I equate it. I don't know if you remember this, but you remember back when cabs were cash cabs? Do you remember you had to pay cash for cabs?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a time where it went from cash to credit cards and the cab drivers wouldn't pick you up if you didn't have cash. Do you remember that? There was like 1 year where they all got angry, like, I'm only taking you if you have cash. Do you remember that?
I also remember, just as an aside, when the credit card receipt, when you paid, listed the full credit card number in cabs.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I do remember when they said cash only.
Cash only. I'm not picking you up. My machine's broken. They would always say my machine's broken.
Right. Yeah.
And then you know what happened? They got used to the credit card fees. They're all making way more money because they see people on there. Oh, 20%, 30%. People don't care. And half these guys are corporate anyway, and they're just putting it on there. They don't care what they tip. They're not paying it. They're making more money now, and they love it. They probably don't even want cash. So the same thing's happening with this. This was a cash business. Once the staff members realize they're going to make more money, because to take out $1,000 of the bank, first of all, it's a process, but it hurts. It hurts for me. It hurts giving $1,000 out. $1,000 on my credit card feels like nothing. It doesn't even feel like anything. So it's easier to give money on a credit card when you don't see it and feel it. So people give more.
Do you have to report these transactions?
Great question. We don't 1099. We don't K1. But if you really think about it, and I've talked to accountants before we even started this company, these aren't tips. So we've all been calling it tips forever. Christmas tips, whatever, holiday tips. Oh, you're my daughter. Here's a tip. A tip is a bartender, a waiter, someone providing an exact service. And usually the tip is a percentage of that service. I like my doorman. I like my super during the holiday times. If I give him money, they didn't do anything. I like you. Here's $100. Did I tip you?
Well, you could call it a gift.
Call it a gift.
Is that what you're calling?
We call them gifts. So these are holiday gifts, cash gifts. Now, the gift tax law, if you look at the IRS.gov, says you can give up to $16,000 per person per year. So technically, I can give you 16 grand. I can give her 16 grand. A million people, $16,000. And it's tax free. So we've all been calling it the wrong thing. Everyone thinks it's a tip. In reality, it's not. And I have to educate people on that. And that's a holiday cash gifting.
Holiday gifting.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful note to end things on. How do people find out more about you and Grazzee?
They can go to the website, Grazzee. So that's 2 Z's and 2 E's. So it's Grazzee.com. Download our app on the App Store or Samsung Store, Android Store. And that's it. If you don't have your building signed up, send me an email to support, SUPPORT at Grazzee.com. I'll try and get your building on board. If you're a condo member or a super, contact me immediately. It takes very short time to get you guys on board, but you'll see an increase in tips in your staff. You'll make your residents really happy because it's a good option for them to use it. And again, they don't have to use it. They can still go the old school way. We're just trying to appease the people that want the new school way.
Well, Zach Colonder, thank you for stepping onto the New York Launch Pod and sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much.
And if you want to find out more about the New York Launch Pod, you could visit nylaunchpod.com for transcripts of every episode, including this one, and follow us on social media at nylaunchpod. And if you're a super fan of the podcast, Zach, are you a super fan of the New York Launch Pod?
Oh, yeah, I'm a super fan.
If you're a super fan like Zach, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It is greatly appreciated and does help people discover the show.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the New York Launch Pod. For more information, please visit nylaunchpod.com.